Any fisherman will tell you that that is probably the best noise that you can possibly hear. You're sitting on the boat or you're sitting on the dock, you're reeling in your personal best fish, you got your buddy recording it, and what are you wearing but some raggedy old t-shirt that looks like crap? Why have that incredible moment ruined by not having on the best high-performance fishing shirt that you can get? That's where our friends at Tackle Up come in. Tackle Up is a fishing lifestyle and apparel company that is making some of the finest, highest quality fishing shirts I have ever worn. Also, we may have a Talkin 215 exclusive shirt on their website that you definitely need to check out. TackleUp.com. We know a ton of you go down to the Delaware beaches during the summer season, so when you're down there, you have to head over to Bethany at the corner of Atlantic and Garfield and check out Tackle Up's new storefront location. Selling Grundens, Hoo-Rags, and of course, their incredible design of high-performance fishing shirts. Definitely check them out, and while you're there, tell them that Talkin 215 sent you.
Welcome to Talkin 215, your go-to podcast for everything you need to know about Philly sports. Whether you bleed green, trust the process, fly with the Flyers, or fight with the Fightins, this is the place where we break down Broad Street. Jake, Sean, and Joey deep dive into the heart of Philly sports culture, breaking down games, roster moves, and sharing the stories that make the 215 truly legendary. So grab a cheesesteak, settle in, and let's get to Talkin 215. Now here's your host, Jake Biasado.
What's going on, Coach? Just Jake and Coach here, the OGs, the originals on the podcast, hitting you an episode. I'm down at the beach. He's over in Florida, so we're both living it up right. Coach, when people tell you and show you who they are, the best thing you can do is believe them. And I have figured out who Aaron Nola is. Aaron Nola will show you very quickly what he's going to do. If he blows up early, the best thing you can do is just take him out. He doesn't have it. He rarely blows up early, settles in, and goes deep. It happens. I'm not saying like when everybody getting in the mentions, going, oh, what about the start that he gave up 3 runs in the first and went 7 innings? Whatever. It happens. But when he doesn't have it, he just doesn't have it. And so if he lets up runs early, best get to your long stretch guy warmed up, get him ready. And then when he seems to have something going and he has it for a little while, and then he shows that he's losing it, you got to pull him out right then and there. If it's past the 4th inning and he starts giving up runs, he's lost it. He's not getting it back. And we saw it again tonight here in the 6th inning. We had a 1-0 lead. And again, Coach, you're famous as saying like you're not going to win games or many games that you only score 1 run. So if he ends up only giving up 3 and the bullpen only gives up 3, total, that's not really on the pitching. That's more on the offense. But when Aaron Nola goes past the 4th inning and starts giving up runs, Rob Thompson, you got to take him out of there because he's done.
Yeah, if I tried to sum it up, he's Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde to me. Just because I feel like you never know which Aaron Nola you're getting, right? Like you said, there's that dreaded Rav 4th inning where are we down 4-1 at that point with Aaron Nola pitching, or does he have a no-hitter, taking it into the 4th or taking it into the 5th like he did tonight?
Yeah.
I just think you're either getting Cy Young or you're a guy that, gets blasted. And I don't know what it is. It just seems like almost every Aaron Nola start, he has to give up the long ball. At least once he has to give up an absolute back-breaking bomb that just crushes any momentum or hope that you have. Talking about this game tonight, 9 base runners left on base through the 4th inning. Yeah. I tweeted something out earlier, Jake, where I was like, I feel like the Phillies should be up 5-0 right now. Like this is 2nd and 3rd with 1 out, you don't score. 1st and 2nd with no outs, you don't score. 2nd with no outs, you don't score. 1st and 2nd with 1 out, you don't score. I have no clue. And look, I know yesterday we erupted for 18 hits, 9 runs, the whole 9. I get it. That's what this offense is capable of. It's so crazy because it feels like the Padres have barely made contact all night and they're up 3-1. And we have 7 hits, 9 base runners, and we have 1 run. It's crazy.
No, it blows my mind. And then you want to talk about guys that just have it, guys that don't, just riding the waves, riding momentum. When JT went out, JT's having a decent year right now. He's pretty solid at the plate. He's come up clutch a number of times, having a pretty decent year. He goes out, and we're all worried, oh, geez, Garrett Stubbs, vibes guy. You love him in the locker room. Everybody loves him as a teammate. But he was batting sub 170 batting average. He had 1 extra base hit the entire season. No kind of pop. He's been suspect behind the plate. We already talked about how Wheeler has a 4-point higher ERA under Stubbs than JT. And I get it, the sample size is vastly different, but there's still obviously something there when it's 4-run difference. And then you got Rafael Marchand, who was a highly touted catching prospect, caught the injury bug early in his career, kind of fallen off to the wayside a little bit, but he's healthy now. He comes up, and what has he done since he's come up but just smack the cover off the ball? And like,
he looked great defensively. He looked great defensively too.
Yeah, the guy has an absolute howitzer for an arm, just a cannon of an arm. He's doing everything you need him to do. What did he go 4 for 4 at the plate yesterday? 4 for 4 at the plate, 2 ribbies. I think they were all singles, but look, that's 4 for 4. That's 4 more hits than Garrett Stubbs has tonight. Like, you gotta just ride it. And like, what are you gonna say? Overuse? He's a 20-something-year-old, essentially still a prospect, and it's just the second game. You're playing catchers back to back to back all the time. JT is the number 1 innings since he's joined the Phillies, and the second place isn't even close. And now you're gonna put Stubbs back in there. Like, I get it. Guys like their guys, and maybe Aaron Nola has a say, and he's like, no, you know what? Stubbsy's my guy. Like, Roy Halladay and Chooch, he would only have Ruiz. And I get it. Like, Ruiz was one of the best game managers out there. I mean, that you heard that from anybody that pitched to him, was like, look, this guy calls an immaculate game. I never have to shake him off. He always knows. He has his finger on the pulse of the game. Who knows? Maybe Aaron Nola has something with Stubbs. He's like, I gotta have my guy out there. And that could be as simple as that, but I don't see how you don't put Rafael Marchand out there until he falters. Like in hockey, obviously we know the Carter Hart situation. Like if guilty, the guy should rot in prison. But like, you see these backup goaltenders come in, and what do you always say? You ride the hot hand. Until there's a reason to take him out of there, you ride that hot hand. And right now, Rafael Marchand's your hot hand, and you're just putting him on the shelf.
Well, what I don't understand is, like you said, Jake, unless it was Nola saying, I need Stubbs, I need Stubby, whatever the case is, which does happen. I don't think that was the case here.
No, I doubt
it does happen. I'm curious, like, what else does Marchand need to do to play like 2 games in a row? Like,
Bro, this is like
you went 4 for 4
last season.
And then on top of that, after going 4 for 4, absolute hose, someone trying to steal second base, so strike him out, throw him out. I mean, the dude just
my favorite double play in baseball.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's the most pure double play there is. And I would have thought going 4 for 4, he was the player of the game, the daycare gave him the little bath and whatnot. Like, I don't understand why, like, hey, you could play tomorrow. But look, if we're sitting here, like, picking hairs out and everything, and I want to say something, Jake, because I kind of got like attacked on Twitter for a tweet that I put out about how the Phillies and Orioles were like not on the same page and whatnot. Oh man, nice catch. But sorry, I'm watching the game as we're putting. But here's the thing: did you know that when Trey, and all I kept hearing was, Trey Turner and JT are out. Trey Turner and JT are out. What do you expect? What do you expect? What do you expect? I'm like, okay, all right, I understand that. Good point, right? Do you know what Edmundo Sosa's OPS was during Trey Turner's absence?
It was like like it finished at like .970.
It was the same as Trey Turner's.
Yeah.
Okay. Philadelphia catchers, since JT got hurt, batting .320. Now, that does count the Rafael Marchand game with 4 for 4, batting .320, which is higher than JT. My entire point is the Orioles have like 5 pitchers on the IL, including their closer, their setup man, and 2 starters. And they aren't able to use the injury excuse, but we are. And it's just funny to me because we've been playing so bad. We went 10-10 in our last 20 games. Wheeler had the most earned runs he's given up in any start. Nola, most runs he's given up in any start. Castellanos was in a 1 for 18 slump. I don't know what.
Hey, 3 for 3 tonight, baby.
Yeah, he's 3 for 3 tonight, which is beautiful. I don't know what's happened to Bryson Stott, but he's the worst hitter on the team. He's the absolute worst hitter on the team. And this is coming from a guy that criticizes Castellanos every single day. He stares at the most meatball fastball down the middle every single pitch. for the first 2 pitches. Everybody's like, he's the best 2-strike hitter in baseball. One of them, yeah, it's because every at-bat starts off 0-2. He has no other choice. Every at-bat starts off 0-2. So my whole point of it, and Alvarado blew a save. My whole point of this is the whole team just started playing like shit. Started playing terrible all at the same time. And we want to use that injury excuse when we built at 25 games over 500 without them to begin with. Now, I'm not saying Sosa's better than Trey. I'm not saying Stubbs and Marchand are better than JT. I'm just saying I think it's funny how fickle we are as Philly fans. And Jake, you know this. We've talked about this on this pod a million times. It's only June. It's still early. We're allowed to crown the Phillies as the best team in baseball, one of the best pitching staffs we've ever seen. We're going to have the most all-stars in the NL. We can make it to the World Series with this staff and this team. We're allowed to do that. But the second you criticize the Phillies, it's too early. How does that work?
No, we talked about this. I want to say I talked about it like a month ago on one of our live episodes. And I said the same thing. I was like, look, it's not too early to say that they're incredible, but it's too early to say, if they start to slump, be like, oh, maybe they're kind of averaging back out here. Like we're kind of seeing a little chinks in the armor. No, it's ridiculous. And that's kind of the Philadelphia fan. And look, like love them or hate them, they're very passionate. They're always going to pull for their guys. We're gonna love you when you win. We're gonna boo you when you lose. But it seems like when the Phillies lose right now, you can't boo them. It's like, look, you're seeing faults. You're seeing outs on the base path. You're seeing Dusty Wathan continually have no idea what he's doing as a third base coach. You're seeing, Jose, and I love Jose Alvarado. I'm one of the biggest Jose Alvarado guys, but like he blows that game and you're like, you got to be pissed. Like you got to be like, come on, man. Like you come in, this is your job. Like, and it's never going to be perfect. And nobody's going to say like, oh, we expect perfection. But like, you're going to be pissed off, and then you're going to be happy the next game that he comes out there and pitches well. But it's like we said this the past couple of years when you got people trying to gatekeep on social media, being like, oh, like, what are you talking about? Like, Rob, like, whenever I criticize Rob Thompson, and look, the reverse jinx worked perfectly in that game where I was like, nothing infuriates me more about how Rob Thompson never sticks up for his players. He always sits there, never gets ejected. Then he goes out and has his most fiery ejection of his career. And so, like, look, I was very happy to eat crow there. Like, that's great. Should have happened 2 innings earlier, but it still happened. But, like, I've been critical of Rob Thompson. Still think he's miles more than Joe Girardi. But then you got people on Twitter like, oh, do you see the record under Rob Thompson? You see that the team loves Rob Thompson. The team like this, the team's that. And then I'm critical of Kyle Schwarber leading off. Oh, well, they win with Kyle Schwarber leading off and everything. Like, okay, well, look, man, when they have a 6-game road trip that they lose for the games, when they have a 10-game stretch where they go 4-6, 3-7, I don't care if they're 25 games over 500. I don't want them to start riding that downtrend all the way to just fighting again for the NL East. I need them to continually put their foot on the throat of all their competition because, Joey, we've seen 11 years of no postseason baseball. We've seen some of the worst baseball in our lifetime, and I don't want to go back there. So when I see issues that I think and I know can be remedied because I've seen them do better. I've seen them play smarter. I've seen them play more as a team, less hero ball, just better cohesively. I'm not going to sit there and be like, oh, well, you know what? It's just one game. Like, yeah, sure, I get it. You can't overreact. And sometimes we all do. That's just in our nature. That's a Philadelphia sports fan. We overreact negative. We overreact positive. And there's times where I got to do with Donovan chest pat moment and be like, that's on me. But I'm also not going to sit there and just be like, oh, they've lost 7 of their last 10. It's okay. They're still first. No. I'm going to be like, hey, get your head out of your ass. Go on an 8-game winning streak right now like I know you can. Get Aaron Nola back to being a Cy Young contender. Get Zach Wheeler back to being the Cy Young favorite. Look, I love it right now. I mean, obviously, I wish they won that game. But Ranger Suarez is now the favorite, according to DraftKings, to win Cy Young. So my bet's looking real nice right now. Everybody keeps saying cash out, cash out, cash out. No, Ranger. I'm riding Ranger till the very end.
Ride it.
But it's like you gotta hold people accountable. And there's a difference between I'm not hating on them. I love the Phillies more than probably anybody out there. I love this team. But I'm not going to sit there and be like, oh, they can do no wrong. They are perfect.
I mean, here's something too, right? Like, because you see all the fans talking about what we're talking about right now and whatnot, and the quote unquote excuse, whether this is valid or not, I think part of it's valid, part of it's not, whatever it is, like, oh, they were just on a X amount of game road trip where they were in London and they
screwed us.
They went up. Well, the Mets were in London too, I know, because we played them, and they're on a 6-game winning streak right now since they got back. So that's crazy. But my point is, we don't play good on the West Coast, and we don't play good when we have a layover or we're changing time zones, which the West Coast is. And I'm sitting here thinking to myself, people are acknowledging that we don't play well on the West Coast. People are acknowledging when we have to travel across multiple time zones and jet lag, we don't play well with time off. And you know what, for the sake of this argument, I'll agree with you. We don't. So then why are you mad at me when I get upset over a routine regular season loss when we're only 3.5 games up on the Dodgers for the best record in the NFL?
Yeah.
You want the Los Angeles Dodgers with Mookie, Freddie, Shohei, all the way on the West Coast in Los Angeles to have the top seed to where we have to play out there and they get home field advantage? That's what you want? Or do you want them coming to the bank? Do you want those guys coming into the bank and the loudest crowd and them having to deal with those time zones? Don't you want that? So, yeah, that's why I'm upset by regular season losses, because if this comes down to 1 game for home field, 2 games for home field, we've seen the Phillies squeak in with the last game of the year, getting into the last wild card.
When they went on the World Series run, they made the postseason by 1 game. So don't tell me 1 game. Don't tell me, oh, it's a game in June. It doesn't matter. All 162 games matter. Shut up, Glenn Rivers. Yeah. This matters.
Now, it doesn't matter to the Colorado Rockies, the Miami Marlins, teams like that. It doesn't matter to teams like the Chicago White Sox. I get that. But when you can pretty much see who the top teams are now. Like, they've separated themselves. You pretty much know who's going to be the division winners, the Brewers, the Phillies, the Dodgers, and then you have a handful of teams scraping around 500 to get those last couple wild card spots. It's going to matter. I don't want to go out to LA. I do not want to go out to LA when they have home field advantage like that, with as bad as we play. Or I don't want to get into a series with, another West Coast team that makes a wild card where they go to the second round and then we have to go out there too. So just handle your business during the regular season. Don't get mad because I get upset with losses, because you celebrate the wins the same way. Let it ride. Who cares?
Yeah. No, I'm with you 100%. I'm with you 100%. Like, we're here holding our team accountable because we know what they're capable of. We know that we want to have the best run possible to the World Series. And with that, that's giving us the #1 home field advantage probably in all of professional sports. Like, I debated people on one of our live shows. I said, who has a better home field advantage, the Eagles or the Phillies? And I'd say it's not even close. It's the Phillies, because look, here's the big difference. In NFL, every single game is sold out. Yep. Like, every single game and every single team and every single city sells out an NFL game, or like is at least 85-90% full. In baseball, you can go on games where you're lucky if half the stadium's full. Right. Like, there's plenty of times where you got there. I mean, we saw postseason games where cities weren't even able to fill their stadium, where they weren't even able to get 75% capacity. So when a team comes in to a 47,000 fan filled stadium with the loudest, most obnoxious, and that's a term of endearment right now, fans in all of professional baseball, and they're hearing what is essentially a Lincoln Financial crowd in the game of baseball, that takes it miles ahead of anything that you hear in the NFL, because that's the same kind of stuff that they have every single game. They get used to it. You're not used to that in baseball. There's a reason. I completely agree. Pitchers, opposing hitters, opposing managers are like, it is different at Citizens Bank Park in the postseason.
I think Bryce even said it was like a football atmosphere. He said, when I think it was one of the 3. We played 3 games in Baltimore, right? And I think it was the game we won. It could have been the game we lost. But first thing Topper said after the game was, first of all, I just want to say that we have the best fans in the world. We have the best fans. They were hearing Phillies fans take over the Baltimore crowd. And, I think that series, even though the Phillies lost 2 of 3, was so fun from a fan perspective. I mean, you had it's not a long drive, right? It's a historic Camden Yards. And it's two teams that are in cities that are quote unquote blue collar, that aren't always talked about, compared to the big dogs, the LA, the New Yorks, the Chicagos, the Atlantas. So it was really cool to see. It almost felt like a little stadium series, little thing. And if that is a World Series preview, I say buckle up, man. That is going to be fun.
Hey, Bryson Stott took a fastball middle for strike number 1.
Excellent. You must be light years ahead of me, like you always are.
Slightly. Again, I'm watching on my phone. I'm down at the beach enjoying some sun. If anybody's down here listening to this, Thursday we're doing a live show at Dewey, the number 1 brew pub in America. We're doing a live show down at Dewey's Brew Pub right there on Route 1.
You know what that sound is. That's the sound of summer, and there's no better way to kick off this summer season than with an ice-cold Dewey beer. Dewey Beer recently voted the number 1 brew pub in the nation. The nation, number 1 brew pub with locations in Delaware and even in Colorado, has some of the coldest, crispest, most delicious beer I have ever tasted. And you're going to be able to get it for free at the Talkin 215 free beer Phillies tailgates. We're always advertising them on our social media, but enough about that. Let's talk about Dewey for a little bit. Locally owned and operated, they use only the finest ingredients and go through a painstaking process to make sure that the best product possible is in that can, and you need that can in your hand. Head on over to deweybeerco.com to see where Dewey is sold near you and get yourself some of the delicious El Trono, Swishy Pants, or any of their other incredible beers. Dewey Beer. Let's kick off summer right, folks.
Hey, you're gonna like this. Stoddy got a little hit.
Stoddy got a single?
Stoddy got on the second pitch.
What's going on?
Yeah, he saw it and jumped right on it. Good for him.
Now here's typical Phillies. I bet Casty grounds into a double play just because he's 3 for 3.
Yeah,
and so you can't get mad at it.
You still can't be too mad at Casty.
You can't get mad at it because he's 3 for 3, but that's 100%. What would typically happen. But Jake, I want to ask you. Well, we're on the topic of Phillies. A transaction that just happened. Trey came back, and we optioned Johan Rojas to the minors.
Yeah.
Right move, bad move, good move. What do you feel about that?
No, it's 100% the right move right now. Like, look, I have been critical of Rojas, but I also almost every time I tweet something or say something negative about him, I always preface it or follow it by saying I love the prospect that he is. I think he is going to be a great baseball player. He's not there yet. He's still a little bit rough. He's still a little bit raw around the edges, but I love the prospect that he is. But he's a guy right now that needs everyday at-bats. He needs to go and get these at-bats where the pressure is a little bit off of him. The pressure is a little bit, it's a little bit easier. Like, look, we all play MLB The Show. Sometimes you got to turn it from Hall of Fame down to All-Star. When you're playing, Road to the Show, you got to get a little series where you go 4 for 5 with a couple dingers, and then you put the difficulty back up and you find your swing again and you get going. Like, obviously not exactly the same thing here, but there's something to be said about getting your confidence up, seeing some pitches, seeing a little bit lesser competition, and getting that every single day at bat. And then we all know he's going to be back up. This isn't a send down and keep him down there. But think about some of the guys recently that have gone down and come back up. Jose Alvarado, he went down with a 7-something ERA. Since he's come back up, I believe he has a 2.6 ERA since the call-up a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. I mean, obviously, he needed a little respite. You had all kinds of different guys go down, get their legs back under him, and come back up. And the big thing that we're struggling with right now since London series is offense. And he's not giving you absolutely anything at the plate. So you're getting a guy in Pache, or you got Edmundo now working out in left field. You're getting guys out there that offer a little bit more at the plate. Our buddy Ben Silver will tell you, Christian Pache is top 5 in the in the NL in exit velocity. He just needs to get the launch angle right. So he knows how to put bat on ball. Cassie strikes out. No double play. Struck out. What a shit.
Jake, I agree with you. I think sending Rojas down was the right move. One, you got a guy like Pache, doesn't have any options left, so you have to just, release him. DFA.
He would have gotten picked up.
Yeah, he would have gotten picked up, and you're kind of they're almost like the same player a little bit, right?
Yeah,
like
so, going to offer you the exact same defense that Rojas is.
Yeah, and with Rojas and Rojas, defensively this year wasn't his normal self, taking bad angles, dropping balls. I mean, he's elite defensively because of his speed and Philly's offense is. I hate to just do this on a random tangent. We're talking about Johan Rojas, but besides the eruption yesterday for 9 runs and 18 hits with the 2 Schwarber bombs, the Phillies are averaging like 2 runs a game over the last 6 games.
That's incredible.
They're averaging 2 runs per game. But you can't talk about that on Twitter because people be like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? What are you talking about? This is the same damn correlation that we have during football season when people talk about drops. If you drop a touchdown on 3rd and goal, that's not the same as you dropping a running back swing pass on 2nd and 5. It's not the same. In the box score, they're both going to be 1 drop each. Oh, how did you lose? You each had 1 drop. Don't talk to me about drops. They're not weighed the same. The Phillies have what? 8 hits tonight, 9 hits tonight, something like that, 10 base runners. They have 1 run. It's because they cannot get those hits that I just mentioned when a runner is on 2nd or 3rd base. They cannot do it. They did once.
Hitting.
Yeah, Brandon Marsh did it. They did once, but that's their quota. They met their quota for the game. They're 1 for 9 with runners in scoring position tonight. They've left 11 on base. It's insane. They do this all the damn time. And I know people are going to say, oh, they scored 9 runs yesterday. Yeah, they didn't need 9 runs to win. So when everybody's getting 18, 19, 20 hits when we're winning 9-1 in the 8th, that's all good and great. Where are those hits when it's 2-2, when it's 3-1?
Yeah, but you know what? The nice thing about this team is it can take 1 inning and they erupt. I mean, they're still not out of this game. I don't think any of us think that they're out of this game.
No, I don't think that they're out of this game at all. I think they're gonna do whatever they can to get ducks on the pond in the 8th or the 9th and make it interesting. You know, it's
a matter of repeatedly needing to have heroics.
And I guess that's my point. Is like, can we see a little bit of consistency? And I know people are like, "What are you talking about? They're 24 games over 500. They're 8 games above the Braves." I need y'all to stop talking about the Braves because the Braves are playing like absolute shit.
Yeah.
And so I just want to make this clear. It's okay for us to use the excuse that JT and Trey missed, quote unquote, sometime a month each. They have Strider and Acuna. They're 2 best players out for the entire year, season-ending surgery. Can they use that as an excuse, guys? Okay, so stop comparing our record to the Braves. They're playing like shit, and they're missing their 2 best players for the entire year. We need to worry about taking care of our own business, and that's winning the games that are winnable and not playing around with them, like not playing with our food like we're doing tonight. It happens way too often. Yes, I know I'm bitching about a first-place team, but it's the truth because this is the same team that we saw get no hit in the World Series. This is the same team that we saw blow a 2-0 lead to the Arizona Diamondbacks because they could not hit a baseball. They no longer had offense. It happens. So you just hate to see it continuously happen.
Yeah, you just need to see consistency. That's a word. It's the name of the game right there. It's just consistency. Same approach every time, and it's going to be successful because it has been successful for so long against a lot of good pitchers, and then you beat up on the bad pitchers. And the big thing with them is, like, you heard all the first, third, 2/5 of the season, you heard, oh, well, the Phillies schedule. The Phillies did exactly what they needed to do. They absolutely emasculated inferior teams. They dominated them. And then you've seen them beat good teams too, or at least compete very highly against them. You just need to see that consistency, and you'll see them just continue to ride this win in 2 out of 3 almost every time. I mean, they didn't lose a series for they won 17 straight series.
Jake, there's only 4 or 5 teams in the NL with a winning record, something like that. 4 or 5 teams. You can't play yourself, so take us out of the equation. And we swept the Brewers. They're one of the other 2. So there's 2 or 3 other teams in the NL with a winning record outside of that. What do you want the Phillies to do? Who do you want them to play?
5 teams currently with a winning record. One of them is 1 game above 500, and the other closest is the other closest is 8 games above 500.
Well, and one is the Phillies, when you can't play yourself.
Incredible.
So outside of the Phillies, there's 4 teams over 500 in the NL, and one of them
above 500
is 1 loss away from not being in the conversation to being 500. So again, who do you want them to play? How do you want this to go down?
No, Exactly.
You know,
Coach, I want to talk to you because obviously we're all extremely passionate with the Birds. I no longer follow WIP on social media. I no longer listen to them on the radio. I haven't in 4 or 5 months now, and it's been great. But of course you do, and you share shit from them all the time. Like
I got to stop doing it, man. I'm an idiot.
I don't follow WIP. I don't follow the Fanatic. I don't follow Jack Off Media. I don't follow any of these clowns. But you follow all of them, and you share them.
No, I don't follow them. They just show up on my timeline, Jake.
All right. Well, they show up on your timeline enough to get me pissed off. There's some big report from Howard Eskin out. What a dope. And to use his own words, Howard Eskin talking about how Jalen Hurts, they're going to Carson Wentz him if he doesn't perform this year. And look, I'm actually going to say, in one hand, I kind of get what he's saying because they brought in an offensive coordinator that's proven to be a top tier offensive coordinator in the NFL. They've surrounded him with talent. They got him a top tier running back. They locked in his wide receivers. He's got a tight end. I get all that. So as an Eagles fan and as somebody that I love Hurts, I think he's the man. I think he's going to do great. But you're going to be concerned if he goes out there, everybody's healthy and he doesn't do well. But it's still nowhere even close to where I think they'd be like, oh, got to get rid of him.
I guarantee you that those conversations have never taken place yet. It's WIP, it's Howard Eskin, and it's Elliott Short Parks. And the funny thing about that, Jake, is he said if Jalen makes excuses for his play, they're not going to listen to the excuses.
When has he ever made an excuse?
So WIP, the same station that says he's too stoic, is also saying that he makes excuses. Which one is it, guys? Which one is it? Because on one hand, we sit here and joke about how all he says is we got to play better. Even when we kick the game-winning field goal, he's still his face is rock solid. We say he's emotionless because he said we got to execute better. I expect perfection. I need to do a better job. We got to do a better job offensively. Even when we win and play well, he says that because he says the standard is the standard and we're not playing to the standard. Even though we won by 20, we're not playing to the standard. And you say they might Carson Wentz him if he makes excuses for poor play. First of all, let's not get it twisted. He was the leading MVP candidate going into December last year. The leading MVP candidate on a 10-1 football team going into December with arguably the worst defense we've seen.
Yeah, worst coordinators in football.
The worst coordinators in football, no motion, no creativity, Quez Watkins as your wide receiver 3. And then on top of that, you had 2 co-defensive coordinators that didn't know what they were doing, along with the worst defensive scheme we've seen. And you're talking about Jalen Hurts in, wait for it, June 18th. So it's still early for Phillies baseball, but June 18th, talking about his leadership, potentially getting rid of him and excuse making on June 18th for Philadelphia Eagles football isn't too early.
And we're also talking about Howard Eskin here. Howard Eskin is 95% positive the Eagles are getting Deshaun Watson. We're talking about Howard Eskin, who made Charlie Manuel want to beat his ass. We're talking about Howard Eskin, who had to get put on unpaid leave after needing to admit that he made up reports, that he made stories up. We're talking about a guy that people are like, oh, but he's always got his finger on the pulse. When has he said something where you're like, oh, wow, that actually panned out? Like when he said that Jordan Davis was overweight? No, Baldy said that.
Yeah.
You just tag teamed on it. Jordan Davis was also used more than almost any other player in the Eagles. So whatever, that's separate. But when's the last time we're like, oh man, Howard really knew what was happening there? Because he first said it was Deshaun Watson, and then he was positive it was Russell Wilson, and now it's they're getting rid of Jalen Hurts, and now it's look, I was at training camp.
They're not signing Aaron Nola.
Nope. And he took less money to stay here. The guy isn't tuned in. He's a clown who gave himself a nickname, who is just an absolute moron, who raised a moronic son, who is ruining sports radio in this city. And people are like, oh, he put out a report that they're going to do this. We gotta believe him. The guy gets bodied by beat reporters week in and week out because nobody else in the entire industry respects or likes him. He's an absolute clown. Every player hates him, so he's not getting any kind of inside information from players. He bodies coaches in inaccurate reports, so he's not getting anything accurate from them. I wouldn't be surprised if they're feeding him lies just to make him look like the jackass that he is.
I just don't think I think, look, in the 80s and 90s, when he was the only sports reporter in town and had, one of the very few press credentials, and WIP was its own entity, and there wasn't streaming services and social media and Twitter and all these different outlets to where we have access to sports. Yeah, he was an insider. But since then, this is a new regime. These are new insiders, GMs, players, coaches, everything. He doesn't have the relationship with them that he had back in the day. And especially, like you said, when he makes up shit, we've seen Eagles players in interviews be like, nope, not talking to you. Nope, absolutely not. Do that and call them out. So what makes you think Howard has any sources on anything, especially with the countless times that he's been proven to be wrong by you? You can't take an opinion that you think in your head they might do something and pass it off as a fact like you have insider information.
Yeah, he thinks he's Ray Didinger, and he's just not.
And he's not. He's not. It's terrible. I think the whole radio station, I can't get behind the sabotaging of a beautiful sports community, the sabotaging of everything that they do. And then you said, did that little self-proclaimed hiatus, and coming back. Same thing Elliott Shore Parks did. After that Deshaun Jackson, LaShawn McCoy episode, he was incognito for 2 straight weeks, then came back just tweeting training camp updates like nothing happened.
Yeah,
and WIP and everybody knows about it, and they won't address it.
Yeah, follow our boy John Barchard. He's got a tally going of how many days it's been. And John was his co-host, or they were hosts together for a time. So for a guy to come out there and say this stuff about a guy he used to work with, obviously speaks volumes about the type of guy that he is. Yeah. Elliott Shore Parks is a clown. Howard Eskin's a clown. Joe Giglio, clown. I mean, they are just all stinking clowns. Even stinking John Ritchie, where people are like, oh, well, you got to take, he played for the Eagles. First of all, he's a fullback. He's a fullback. But he played for him a long time ago, and he played on some great teams. I get it and all, but he played a long time ago. But even he is like, oh, you have to trust me. I played in the NFL. Like somebody tries to disagree with him, you're like, oh yeah, because you had years in the NFL. You have NFL game playing experience and everything.
I hate that pompous ass attitude.
Dude, shut up. Like you don't know everything because you played some downs in the NFL. You could have been a quarterback, and I'd still be saying, like, dude, you don't doesn't mean that you know everything. You obviously have a better feel for what football was like in the 80s, 90s, early 2000s, whatever. But it's not like you're still playing for the team. It's not like any of the coaches that you knew or are still close with have any connection whatsoever with the Philadelphia Eagles. You obviously never knew Jeff Lurie. You were never close with him. So it's like, what connection do you still have there? What in do you have with the Philadelphia Eagles that make you so much higher other than you played football when nobody was even born that plays for them now, and none of the coaches were even coaching in the NFL that are coaching for them now? But yes, please tell me how you know better than that.
I completely agree with you. And I understand when I'll give you an example. Somebody like Dan Orlovsky, right? Who wasn't good in the NFL at all, was pretty terrible, but he's an analyst. He has his opinions and everything. When he talks about Calvin Johnson and his work ethic and how he was and how that was during that, you believe him because he was in the locker room. He practiced with him every day. Even Ike Reese, who I've soured on, when he wants to talk about Andy Reid and those teams and Jim Johnson, I'll believe him. But John Ritchie, you can't tell me about today's Philadelphia Eagles like it applies to you at all. You were a fullback that was on the field for 13% of the snaps. That's all it was.
Training camp, like there's a massive difference from when John Ritchie was on the sideline and Ike Reese was on the sideline. People were like, hey, Ike, what's going on, man? Like some players, like some coaches and all. John Ritchie, they were just like, who's this hippie looking mother? Like,
yeah. And I think people can spot phonies, right? Like they don't like that pompous attitude. Like they don't like that I know everything attitude. Like you said, like you don't know everything. You didn't play in Kellen Moore's system. You don't understand past concepts, outside. Nobody uses a fullback in the NFL anymore. Like, dude, you're talking about ancient stuff. Like, this isn't the power I or the wing T. Like, what are we doing here? Like, no, I don't want to hear your comment on it. You know, like I don't care, because there are people that have never played a down of football at any level that study, that read, that are around coaches, that go to seminars, that watch film, that learn from other people who have done it, that are a million times more knowledgeable than someone who's played.
Howard Roseman's not a football guy. We shouldn't listen to him.
When people say that, Jake, I'm like, okay, can you pull up Bill Belichick's playing stats for me? Pull them up real quick. What about what about Andy Reid? Can we pull up his playing stats?
Hey, you saw his pass kick and punt. Don't act like you didn't.
Andy Reid looked like Jordan Davis in third grade. Like, just that was insane. That's still one of the most unbelievable videos. If you show somebody, they'll be like, okay, this is a parody video. There's no way this makes sense.
Like a full-grown Tony Saragusa out there.
You know, and like today we live in the time and era where like everybody's a Karen. You know, if that would have happened today, there'd be so many moms be like, why are you letting this kid compete against my son? It's only supposed to be fourth graders. Man, that's a third grader.
Well, I wanna put out in some alternate universe where Howard Eskin's actually correct. So let's say that report is 100% accurate, and they go out there. We all looked at the schedule, and we all know the talent that the Eagles have. Like, they go out there, they have a better offensive coordinator, a better defensive coordinator, better play calling, and better positional players. And Jalen Hurts plays below average. I'm not even gonna say average. He plays bad. They're winning 9-10 games.
Yeah.
Like they're winning 9-10 games. So it's like, okay, now you want to move on from, you're going to then go to Kenny Pickett. You're then going to what? Because you don't have the draft capital to trade up to get a guy. What are you going to, you're going to get Russell Wilson? Like, cause he's on a 1-year deal. Like, what are you going to do? Please tell me that, because, and you're also then going to say, Hey, AJ, appreciate you signing that extension with us, which now looks like a steal. We got rid of your quarterback. Hey, Devontae, appreciate you giving us an absolute steal of a contract. We're not going to go to the guy that wasn't your teammate. We're going to go to a guy that has single-digit passing touchdowns in Kenny Pickett. We're going to draft a guy in the end of the first round that we're taking a chance on, and we're going to take a massive step back. Like, think about the scenario that they're in right now before you just start speaking out of your ass, Howard. It makes zero sense that they Carson Wentz Jalen Hurts when they have nobody in the wings. There is no quarterback coming up in free agency worth a damn. Everybody knows, even if he plays, he could play terribly, and they will win 8-9 games, which will be in the late teens of draft picks, where you're not getting any kind of real talent at quarterback, or most of the time you're not. And so then what are you going to do? You got wide receivers locked up. You got a lot of money spent on defense. You got a lot of positions locked up. And then by the time that you're going to be getting a good quarterback, you have your franchise right tackle retiring. You have other players that you just have no idea what they're going to be, either moving on from the team because now you don't have the money because you're spending so much money on dead cap on Jalen Hurts' contract. You're unable to keep young stars that are hitting their prime, and now you're starting back at absolute square one with a disgruntled wide receiver, 2 disgruntled wide receivers. Dallas Goedert's probably out of his prime by then, so you're looking for a new tight end. You've lost your head coach and possibly your offensive coordinator because you're not going to keep them under a system like that. Like, think before you just type something. But clearly, you're only doing it for attention and clicks. It makes zero sense for anything other than that.
Jake, what you just said is called context. And who has time for that when you need views, clicks at a dying radio station? When you need engagement.
Bankrupt, WIP's going down the tube. I mean, they've promoted people from within because they can't afford to bring in new talent or go out there and poach new talent from other places.
But the new talent probably wants to speak about things like you just said. They want to have context. They want to talk about X's and O's. They want to talk about matchups. They want to talk about.
And you think anybody that even let's say there was a good host at WIP, you think they'd be allowed to go on there and be like, Howard Eskin comes out with an absolutely asinine take today? Like, they could do it with Howard on, and it's like some tongue-in-cheek kind of joke thing, but they're not going to let anybody come out there and body one of their own, the king.
Yeah, it's so funny to me because, I feel like that's part of like why we do what we do too, right? Like I want an open forum where I don't have to listen to that trash ass garbage all the time. And Jake, you hit the nail on the head. What these people talking on these radio stations and everything like that are just trying to engagement farm. You don't think about the culture. You don't think about inside the locker room. You don't think about the camaraderie. Like we see how tight knit this Phillies team is, right? Inside their locker room. On the Super Bowl run, we saw how tight knit the Eagles were and everything like that. You get rid of the guy that is your captain, that is your leader, that is the godfather to your receiver's child. What's going on? What I missed, Jakey?
I don't know what I missed. The Phillies, Kyle Schwarber, June Schwarber.
Oh, it was a solo shot.
Solo shot.
Damn it!
That's all they got that inning. So they have one. They got to get out of the ninth, and they got to score at least one run in the bottom of the ninth.
That's crazy. June Schwarber's here,
bro. He has a higher home run per at bats than Babe Ruth in his prime in a single month. He hits a home run now in, I believe, 10.5 at every 10.5 at bats through the month of June. Babe Ruth's best month was 10.7 at bats.
I got an idea for a shirt for Talking 215. I'm gonna say it after the episode so that nobody poaches it. But it got me thinking. But yeah, dude, Schwarb's locked in. He's batting like 255 or something like that too.
Good for him. And he's leveling out. He's starting to hit righties a little bit, which makes no sense that he wasn't. But he's starting to hit righties again.
I think he had like 4 singles last year, something like that. It was either home run, strikeout, or that was it, or walk. Like that, those were the only outcomes of an at bat. But no, he's hitting really, really well. And look, we'll spin it on a positive note. Stop talking about the clowns.
Yeah, the game. I'm telling you, the Phillies are winning this game. They got Harper, Bohm, Stott, Casty coming up the first 4 batters in the ninth. It's done. They're walking off. Castellanos 4 for 5 with a bases clearing walk off. No,
there's no way we win this game. There's 0%.
Exactly. Thank you.
For those of you who don't know why I just said that,
knows
it's over. Worst team in baseball. They'll never win another game. Season's over. They can't do it. They cannot do it.
No, but look, you can go and see the Phils. We got our Sunday giveaway that we do every Sunday home game. We're going to be able to do it back-to-back weeks because they're home this Sunday and the following. But right now on our Twitter and Instagram, we're running the giveaway, giving away a pair of tickets to this heavily coveted game between the Diamondbacks and the Phillies, an 11:35 game. So the only 11:35 game I can ever remember being played at Citizens Bank Park. I'll have to look it up. I don't know if there's ever been.
Is that the first game of the series with them?
No, it's the second, I believe.
I was about to say, there's no way they make a team from out west fly to the East Coast and play at 11:30 in the morning. That'd be
they have off Thursday. No, it's the last game of the series. They have off Thursday, and then they play them Friday at 6:40, Saturday at 4:05, and Sunday at 11:30. So also news, the free beer Talkin' 215 tailgate is being moved to Saturday. I have tickets to Saturday that I'm taking. I got them for my girlfriend for a gift and all. It's some country music concert afterwards, whatever. So we're moving the free beer tailgate to Saturday rather than doing a 6:30 a.m. tailgate on Sunday where everybody's going to be showing up right before the game for an 11:30 game. Nobody's going to be an idiot like me and show up there at 6:30. So we're moving it. It's going to be 11 a.m. starting at the same spot in the G lot. Free beer, Talkin' 215 tailgate, Saturday, not Sunday. You may see
Friday, not Friday.
Representatives there on Sunday, but there's not going to be the big tailgate.
Saturday is free beer, people. Do you hear it? Free beer Saturday.
And then you get to go in there and watch Big Wheels pitch.
Oh, he's scheduled on Saturday to pitch?
Yeah, that's a scheduled start. We just got to hope that we get Rafael Marchand behind the plate.
Man, I'm Jake. I'm going to the Braves Phillies game July 7th in Atlanta. For all of you that like to bet at home, I've never witnessed a Phillies victory in person. I'm also 0-6 at the Atlanta Braves Stadium. So you can bet your ass that's probably I'm going to guess that's a Taiwan start. I'm not even going to run the numbers on who's in the rotation coming around there, but I'm sure we'll call up Mick Abel to start that game probably too, or something like that in a spot start. But yeah, if you guys like to bet at home, July 7th, Phillies, Braves. I will be in attendance. Bet accordingly.
Oh, yeah. Hate to end the episode on a sad note. MLB legend Willie Mays has passed away.
Oh, no.
93 years old.
Rest in peace. One of the best.
Rest in peace to truly one of the absolute best. Final thought. Rest in peace, Willie Mays.
Rest in peace, Willie.